If you're an investor or entrepreneur who's looking to make a large investment or launch a new business in the US, you'd be surprised to know that where you choose to do so is very important. And in fact, Florida is one of the top locations for entrepreneurs in these kinds of situations. In this video, I'm going to explain why Florida has been at the leading edge of entrepreneurship and growth among business people, especially for people moving from overseas. I'll explain why the business climate matters for you, what state you operate in, and whether Florida, in fact, would be a good fit for you. So by the end of this video, you'll have an understanding whether Florida and the benefits that it offers would be a good fit for you, your business, and your family. Hello again, my name is Charles Rather, and I'm the managing partner at AmLaw Group. We're based just outside of Miami, Florida, where for nearly 20 years we've been assisting entrepreneurs, investors, and other business people such as yourself make that decision to relocate to the US, develop a business or an investment, and on the basis of that, acquire residency in the US for themselves and their families. We assist entrepreneurs, business people, skilled professionals using the full array of immigration options that are available to us to put together the most effective strategy for our clients. If you're considering Florida for your E2, EB5, or similar business immigrant visa, leave your comments or questions below. So before we get into this, let's maybe take a step back to look at some of the general background information. Florida has always generally been a welcoming location for immigrant business people. Various studies have shown that on average, Florida is one of the top states, and in particular, areas such as Miami and Orlando are probably in the top 5 or top 10 in the whole United States in terms of the proportion of immigrant business people that have operations in those respective areas. Some people might assume that this is just a result of the immigrant surge at the border a couple years ago during the Biden administration. But in fact, in my personal opinion, it really has very little to do with that. Florida, and in particular the Miami metro area, has always been a magnet for foreign entrepreneurs looking to use the location here as a springboard for growing and expanding their business in the US. I think the bigger reason for that is just the general climate, the business climate in Florida compared to other states. Florida has a very favorable business climate, particularly under Governor DeSantis. He has made it a priority to make the state a welcoming one for business people in general, whether they're domestic or foreign. And in fact, Florida also has a number of fiscal advantages compared to other states. It has a relatively low sales tax, and there is no personal income tax on individuals. So if you're looking at an E2 or an EB5, certainly the lack of income tax at the state level is a large advantage. Of course, you still have to pay federal income tax no matter where you are, but considering some states such as California have an income tax of over 10%, that's just at the state level, and other states such as New York and Illinois are very similar. The fact that there's no income tax in Florida certainly has a positive benefit for people with high incomes. Florida has one of the fastest growing economies among all states, and those active sectors encompass a large array of economic areas, including tourism, logistics, transportation, construction, and other areas. And immigrant businesses make up approximately 25% of all these businesses. As a result, Florida is an attractive place not only to bring new businesses, but it's attractive in that it already has a very strong foundation that is growing as well and provides a very positive and nurturing environment for new entrants to the market. In light of this, what visa options really would make sense for somebody considering Florida? If we're looking at the business environment in general in Florida, the most likely visa options that would be of benefit for that are the E2 and EB5, and probably the L1. With the E2, you need to be a citizen of a treaty country. More than 100 countries qualify for the E2. And on the basis of that, you need to invest about $100,000. The E2 is really popular because it's very flexible, doesn't require you to have a business overseas, and the approval rates are very high. An L1 is similar to an E2. The L1 is open to literally any nationality. It doesn't matter, what citizenship you have. So that's a big advantage of the L1. The L1 is a little bit more difficult than the E2 in that it requires you to show experience that you've had at an affiliated company overseas, and you have to hire more people at the US company under an L1 than an E2. But in certain circumstances, the L1 might even be a better option for an applicant. And the third option that I mentioned, the EB-5, that is where you're making a sizable investment in a business. It could be your own business, but the vast majority of investors invest in regional center projects. The minimum amount for an EB-5 is $800,000. It's more of a passive investment where our clients aren't involved in the day-to-day operations of the business, but it's a passive investment that they keep their money in that project for about 5 or 6 years and then receive their money back afterwards. But in all of these cases, all of these investment options are related directly or indirectly to business development, job creation, and other aspects where having a healthy business climate supports those business undertakings. Florida in general, and actually Miami in particular, is also considered the gateway to the Americas for any business opportunities involving Central and South America. Of course, it doesn't mean those are the only favorable markets that it can be served from South Florida, but historically, and especially in the last few years, there's been increased focus on Central and South America within the Southern Florida economy. However, having said that, anybody who's been in Florida, especially South Florida, can attest that it's not merely made up of people from these markets from South and Central America, but you have a large number of Canadians, Western Europeans, Eastern Europeans as well, that make for this territory, this area, to be a very multicultural, multinational melting pot for entrepreneurs. One other thing to keep in mind is with an E2 or an EB-5, sometimes people ask the question, well, if my business is there, do I need to live there? So if you're talking about an E2 or an L1 where you actually have an active business that you're overseeing, from a practical perspective, I would say you generally need to live relatively close to the business just to keep an eye on it. However, having said that, there's no requirement. So you might have a business in Florida, let's say, but you tend to spend most of your time in another state. That's certainly doable, but in cases like that, it somewhat diminishes the value of having Florida residency, avoiding personal income taxes, etc. But again, it's doable. If you are an EB-5 investor and you're investing in a regional center project, in that case, you really have no ties at all to the project and no need to be close to the project in order to oversee it. I would say the vast majority of our clients are not even residents close to the project they've invested in for an EB-5. But the advantage, again, from a Florida perspective is if you're a high net worth individual, you have high income and other assets, having residency in Florida compared to, say, states such as New York, California, and other ones with the higher taxation that they have, generally Florida is a much better fit for EB-5 investors. Even if you invest in an EB-5 project that's located in Texas or New York or California, it doesn't matter where. By having residency in Florida, you're able to take advantage of some of these benefits that I mentioned earlier. If you'd like to discuss your specific situation and plans with our team, please reach out to us below in the links below to set up a consult either with myself or somebody else on my staff, or feel free to reach out to us directly by phone or email to take the next steps in your journey to the US. Whether it's an E2, EB-5, L1, or any of the other major visas that we cover, we can formulate a program and a strategy that would work best for you.